All right. Hi, everyone. This is Arjuna, aka Professional High Priestess, and I'm going to tell you right now, this is going to be some heat. I'm going to bring you guys some heat today in this reading. And we're going to be talking about a very, very critical and important topic that's going to save a lot of people a lot of time, stress, as well as ignorance moving forward in regards to spiritual knowledge and how to understand spiritual knowledge, okay? Now, let me go ahead and share my screen here real quick. Okay. So today, you guys know that I was saying that for a while now, I was going to talk about I was going to do an occult lecture about the bastardization of spiritual knowledge and wisdom and what that's doing to us currently as a people, and how the bastardization of this spiritual knowledge and wisdom is what led to the several genocides that a lot of us are dealing with, that our ancestors had to deal with, and that we're still reeling from today. And, you know, one of the main reasons why I'm also doing this is because there's a lot of confusion, especially in the spiritual community, with YouTube scholars and fakes and people that are trying to appear to have knowledge and information and wisdom, but all they're really doing is cursing the village, which is what their ancestors originally did, right? And spreading fucking confusion. So we're going to clear up the fuckery, and we're going to clear up a lot of these historical atrocities so that we can move forward clear. So this is on H.P. Helena Blavatsky, The Curse of Ham, and Savitri Devi, The Use of Spirituality and Religion in the Furthering of Genetic Annihilation. So some of you guys are like, what do you mean genetic annihilation? Because you think it's just racism. Oh, they don't like me for the color of my skin. No, they don't like me because of the vibration of your DNA and the vibration of your melanin. Let's go deeper. So let's see here. Okay. Helena Blavatsky, H.P. Blavatsky. Helena was basically one of the founders of the Theosophical Society that is very much rampant today. Now, the Theosophical Society, they were not directly tied with Aleister. They weren't created by Aleister Crowley and all of them, but they had similar members and they interchanged knowledge and information. And then Crowley kind of fell off the deep end with the lemma and sex magic, so he had to go get placed over there. But a lot of the early purporters of Hollywood, aka Walt Disney, and a lot of these people that we talk about, they were a part of the Theosophical Society, where they were gaining high knowledge and information that they were then implanting into their movies and their books and shit like that, because Hollywood is just another form of spell work, the entertainment industry. And that's why in the early days, for those of you who read The Code to the Matrix, it's on the book club. For those of you, and you can find it online too. For those of you who read The Code to the Matrix, they talk about phantasmagoria and how they would basically bring people into dark, sweaty rooms, and then they will start to perform different apparitions with lights and fire and screams and sounds to invoke a certain energy that they would then use for ritual. So they would put you into a specific position energetically, and then they would use that energy to continue to reap more havoc and chaos, because they would use that to basically power up their magic. That's why if you go to Disney World, you'll see that they have the 33-degree club. 33 degree is the highest form of mastery that you can reach in Freemasonry, but it takes a while to get there, because in order for someone else to move into that higher degree, someone else has to die, you see? That's why even joining a lot of these secret societies, it doesn't even make any sense. You're just selling your soul, and a lot of that knowledge and wisdom comes intuitively to you when you're a high priestess. That's why they're always trying to sacrifice us and do sex magic on us, especially when the full moons come around. And I made a video about this, you guys, dealing with secret society motherfuckers that all these videos are now being plagiarized on YouTube. So, the Theosophical Society, she would go into different parts of India and Persia, places where you should not go, to go pull up information and knowledge and wisdom that she would then go and share with these rich people that were a part of the Theosophical Society that were funding her troops and her missions. One of her students was Adolf Hitler. They brought out and bastardized the theory of the Atlantean root races. If you really, really want to understand the root races, don't read that book, The ISIS Papers. It's complete trash, and it's about racism. And it's basically saying, like, the Aryan race is the greatest of all the root races. So we need to annihilate anyone that's not of the Aryan race, which would be white. And that's how we're going to come to greatness again. If you guys go ahead and listen to the different Aztec and listen to the Aztec story of creation, that's where they're really giving the keys to the streets in terms of the root races. But they went into these different parts of the world because all these different places, they had their own type of version of what a root race is, but they're really talking about astrology if you pay attention. They're really talking about astrology. She took that knowledge and that wisdom and bastardized it and gave it to Adolf Hitler. Adolf Hitler was a drug addict. He was on crack, he was on speed, he was on coke, he was on pills, period. He was on lithium, he was on quaaludes, he was on all of that shit, period. If you clearly see here, you see the Nazi symbol right there, the swastika. You clearly see that the swastika, out of all these other symbols that also look like, quote unquote, the swastika, these are all ancient symbols for peace, love, harmony. They're all rotating clockwise. You see, they're rotating clockwise, means to move forward. Evolution forward. You see that the swastika is moving backwards to take life, counterclockwise. Hitler got this information from Madame Blavatsky about the root races and shit like that, and then started acting out. But you guys remember, Hitler was funded by the Ford, Prescott, and Bush family, the creators of what? The Federal Reserve, because they had a whole bunch of investments in the German steel industry. And they're like, hey, the only way that we can make money is we need mass production of steel. And the only way that we're going to do that is war. Some motherfuckers got to die. Because if we start mass producing bullets and steel, it's going to make our stocks go up. They purposely put Hitler in power, knowing that he was a crackhead, knowing that he was a drug addict and he was a sex addict and shit like that. That's why they were so apt to do what the fuck they were doing. They were high. So now you guys see it. Now, this energy with Madame Blavatsky, it goes farther because a lot of this information they mistranslated and they bastardized. Rudolf Steiner talks a lot about this in terms of how the mediumship movement was really tainted and infiltrated with karmics, because this information that they were bringing should not have been introduced to a lot of people. And this is a prime example with Hitler and Nazi Germany. Now, let's keep on moving forward. You saw what Hitler did, sacrifice millions of Jews in the name of the Third Reich. But you guys have to also realize they were looking for the Israelites. What they were taking was the Jewish people, but they were really looking for the Hebrew Israelites, Black people. And there's also a whole body of literature on the abuse and the sacrifice of Black people in Nazi Germany. Go look that shit up. Now let's talk. We're going to go into the curse of Ham, but before we go into the curse of Ham, I want to raise up one of our ancestors, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. We actually got to go see her. That was one of the last lectures that she gave before she passed, and the roof caved in with water. She was talking about how for these individuals that practice that energy, this genetic annihilation, the removal of anybody that's not Aryan, which is basically a fallacy, because each root race evolves into another. So it's not one separate here. It's, are you embodying that vibration? It's a vibration that you embody. That's why we're now moving on to the starseed energy, which they're also turning into another fucking game as well. These people who don't understand spirituality and they're filled with racism and low vibrations and shit like that. So Dr. Francis really wrote the keys to the streets on racism is really a form of genetic annihilation. They're trying to remove your bloodline. That's why when they used to go into different parts of Africa, they would take the penis of the Black man and they would use it for rituals. They would think that taking his phallus would make them have a big phallus and would give them masculine strength and shit like that. That's why they did that. That's why they bred us the way that they did on farms and fed us the different food that they fed us to lower our DNA. That's why she was even talking about the gun as a form of racial technology, because the gun represents a phallus. And you see how they love their guns. You see how they love their muskets. You see that you see how they love that shit. Guns, Germs, and Steel is another really good book that follows up on Dr. Francis's reading. And that's why I'm telling you, when you guys are listening to these people running their mouth, what fucking books have they read besides what they parroted from other people? Ask them. That's why I keep on telling you, a lot of these people, they don't need spirituality. No, they need critical race theory and a therapist and lithium and medication. All right? Dr. Francis wrote the keys to the streets with the ISIS papers. That's why they're always trying to get the Black male to go lower his bloodline and go mix out in different races. Now, this is what I'm saying. This is another thing that I'm picking up here. We're not saying that interracial dating is lowering the bloodline. It's the type of person that they're mixing with interracially. Because I've seen powerful Native, Celtic, Druid folks mixed with some Black folk. It's not just plain interracial dating. It's a type of blood that they're tying into, because a lot of that blood is tainted because of slavery and rituals and shit like that. That's why you see a lot of these masculines, they tie into that energy and they fall off. Look at Kanye West. Look at them. Look at Tristan Thompson. That's why he's always going out and fucking cheating. because he's trying to find a charge because their bloodline is tainted with spell work and fuckery. So now let's move forward into the curse of Ham. So the curse of Ham states that the tribe of Ham was cursed into servitude for forever because they did some shit. I believe maybe they were fucking on each other, or they were doing sex rituals, or they were doing some fuckery, and they got themselves cursed. Playing games, all this type of stuff. Now, for these karmics that are running around talking about the curse of Ham, curse of Ham, curse of Ham, isn't that the same shit that you were doing? Practicing sexual degradation, lying, playing with black magic and witchcraft, basically repeating the energy of Semiramis, repeating the energy of Nimrod, basically in the Tower of Babel, babbling and running your mouth and lying, talking out both sides of your neck. So now this is one of the things that you have to really understand with these curses and these shit and the things like this. It's in the behavior. The curse is in the behavior. So when if you want to see somebody that's cursed, pay attention to their fucking behavior. Now, this curse of Ham fuckery, this was really kind of created to continue to invalidate the Israelites, right? The Hebrew Israelites, which were basically melanated people. So they said, okay, we're going to give them the curse of Ham. Now, one of the things that you guys have to understand is Council of Nicaea, Constantine the Emperor, and all these different things. They mixed up and switched up the Bible several times. They took out the Book of Enoch. They took out the healing scriptures. They even took out the aspects of the sexual healing aspect of Christianity and all that stuff. They really tampered with that book. They really tampered with the Bible in that book, and there's a lot of different chapters that are fucking missing, that are in other spiritual practices. Because anybody that was practicing real Gnostic Christianity, which is what Yeshua was really about, that's why I'm like, any of these karmics, you're not talking about Samael on war. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. That's why I'm saying these bitches are not fucking learned. These people are not learned. Until you start talking about Samael on war, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about when it comes to Christianity. When you start studying that, they start to unpack the keys to the streets. They start to unpack how a lot of this information is hidden to an astrotheology. The 12 disciples, which is the 12 signs rotating around the sun, aka the sun, S-U-N. Study astrotheology. You're going to get more keys to the streets. So they made up this fucking curse of Ham. They said that, okay, well, it's specifically for black people, and the way that you can identify them is their skin is dark. Now, if you guys go ahead and you can get your hands on this book, The Race, Religion, and Racism, Perverting the Gospel to Subjugate a People. It literally talks about how hella chapters of the Bible and hella scriptures were twisted and contorted all across Catholicism, Christianity, the Roman Church, etc., to condone racism. Because, hey, you know what? We're going to subjugate this race of people that built the pyramids, and they did this and they did that. So we have to mix shit up and lie and say that they're cursed, and that's how we're going to condone the fuckery that we're doing. If you guys go ahead and you read Pastor Junipero Serra, he wrote the diary. He was basically, at the end of his life, he was against Christopher Columbus. He wrote a lot about that too, that how they cursed themselves by going in and doing the things that they did to the Africans and the Taino people. He started to work against Christopher Columbus at the end of his life because he realized that they were using religion to further this bullshit. And he talks about this. Read a fucking book. Go ahead and get your hands on this book, Race, Religion, and Racism. It has keys to the streets, all kinds of knowledge, information, footnotes, etc. That's why when these karmics are talking, these anybody, these scholars and shit like that, where did they get their knowledge and their information from? Let's move forward, because this is the original image of Yeshua. His skin was burned bronze. His hair was that of wool. So how the fuck did you get blonde hair and blue eyes? That's Caesar Borgia. Caesar Borgia. Caesar Borgia was a rapist, a pedophile, and a pure fucking murderer. He was the fourth pope's son. The fourth pope. And he was feared because he was unstable and would cause hella fucking problems constantly. So people were like, you know what? Let's just appease this motherfucker. So let's not just let's get into this and let's just like act like, you know, we agree with him. It's Caesar Borgia. That's who they've been worshiping all this while. Now, Jesus, the name Jesus, we went into this on my YouTube, my Patreon as well. Jesus is no other than Jesus. The letter J was not created until the 1500s. There are two powerful documentaries that I watch in terms of the origin of the name of Jesus. And one of them says that the original name of Jesus means the strongest, it's the name of the strongest demon in hell. The other name means the king of pigs, which makes a bunch of sense that he would be the king of pigs, because look what these people went out into the world and did under the name of the cross. Enslaving people under the name of the cross, murdering people during the Crusades under the name of the cross. The only reason why they put a photo of Caesar Borgia and shit like that, of Christ, because remember, in Islam, there is no image of Christ. In Kabbalah, there is no image, of the Savior. in Kabbalah or in Judaism or in Islam. So they created this image as a political tool to get people to follow them. Because if they can believe that the image of divinity was likened unto them, oh yeah, we're gonna join Christianity because the God looks like us. So you see, this is how this shit started. Know what the fuck you're talking about before you start talking. But this is the original image of Christ. A dark skinned man with curly ass hair, looks like an Ethiopian to me with those big ass eyes. Because you guys notice Eritrean Ethiopian people, you can always tell them by their eyes and their hair and their shape. Cesar Borgia. Now, let's get back into this presentation. That's who y'all talking about. Isis was the name of a Druidic god. Because what ended up happening was Constantine the emperor, he destroyed all the goddess culture, all the pagan culture, all that shit like that. He's like, we ain't fit to have it. So they incorporated parts of it that were very powerful into their Christianity, into their version of Christianity. Isis was a Druidic god. So when they went and conquered the Druids, they took all the high priestesses and the high priests and they stole their information and knowledge, and then they embedded it throughout parts of Christianity. You guys remember the Bible was only made for rich people before the Protestant Reformation with Martin Luther. That's why they were fighting, because he made the printing press. He was like, fuck that, we're gonna print this Bible and everyone's gonna get one. And that's how shit got started. Because they're like, oh, so this is what y'all been hiding. Because that's how they were getting, because it was really a form of magic. And that's how they were keeping riches and shit like that, because there was magic hidden in the Bible. Now, Isis is the name of a Druidic god, and the way that you make sacrifices to Isis is by hanging a man from a tree and setting him upon fire. Isn't that what the Ku Klux Klan used to do to us all throughout the country? And now you guys know the Ku Klux Klan. If you look at their hoods and shit like that, doesn't it look similar to what the Roman Christians in different parts of Lithuania and Europe, when they do their rituals and they do their festivals every year, they come in purple. They come in purple. It's purple or red. They come in purple with those tall ass hoods and shit like that. But you know what they do? They carry the Black Madonna. Why are you carrying the Black Madonna if the Black woman is the most bastardized, is the most abused and a creature on this planet? Why are you playing with the Black Madonna? Do you see? There's a whole lot that you guys do not know. And they're talking about the father and the da-da-da-da-da, but where's the mother? Because they got that from Pythagoras. That's why they killed him at the stake. They said, okay, it's the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. No, it was Isis, Osiris, and it was Horus. The theory of creation. How the fuck is a spirit, two spirits going to create a human being? That doesn't sound right to me. Now, that's why they killed Pythagoras at the stake, because he was doing spell work, major rituals in front of everybody, and he was dismantling a lot of their theories and shit like that. Go look up on it. That's why they teach us that shit in school. Pythagoras, that's what he was talking about in the Pythagoras theorem. Two lesser parts can create a greater whole. Two lesser parts can create a greater whole, because 1 + 1 = 3. That's what they're really saying. That's what that not in math. We know one plus another one equals 2, but one person plus another person will create a third, a greater whole, a one that's greater than themselves. That's what they were talking about, and that's why they killed Pythagoras at the stake and they burnt his ass alive, because he was doing too much high magic and he was exposing shit. Now let's talk about this fuckery about the curse of Ham. This is in the New York Times. For those of you who don't fact check your shit, there was an anthropologist, and he was studying for 13 years at the University of Pennsylvania, studying the curse of Ham. It says curse of Ham, race and slavery in early Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. I can get access to this document, you guys, because I have access to databases and stuff like that. So I'm going to get the document and I'm going to put it on my Patreon for you guys to go ahead and download and read, because it's going to really help you understand the principality that our ancestors as African peoples have experienced under colonialism and slavery, not as well as residential homes and shit like that, because this shit goes far. It goes to Philippines under French rule. It goes far. It goes to Korean Christians. It goes far. So it says here, among his surprising findings, he said, it's evidence that a misreading of Hebrew and other Semitic languages led to the mistaken belief that the word Ham meant dark, black, or heat. He concludes that in biblical and post-biblical Judaism, there are no anti-black or racist sentiments, a finding that some scholars dispute. He also contends that the notion of black inferiority developed later as blacks were enslaved across cultures. So this is what I'm talking about in terms of you guys running around with this curse of Ham, because it's several people across the spiritual community talking about this shit. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. It was mistranslated to be like, oh, well, if you're dark, that means you have the curse of Ham. That's how they started enslaving our ancestors. It had nothing to do with race or skin color. It had everything to do with individuals who were doing rituals and sacrifices, shit like that. Tower of Babel fuckery. Rome fuckery, where they were having, you guys see those ancient plates in Rome where it's 3 or 4 men fucking each other at the same time? That's the curse of fucking Ham. Sodom and Gomorrah, that's what they're talking about. And you people are sitting on here condoning the same shit that enslaved your fucking ancestors and had us dragged across that transatlantic. Are you stupid? And this is what I'm talking about. These bitches are not fucking learned. They say anything to sound smart because they're cursed. They're doing the same shit that their ancestors did. Lie, cheat, bastardize spiritual knowledge and wisdom, and create problems. I'm gonna post this article there so you guys can find, so this shit can finally be quiet. The Mormon church, this is one of their biggest proponents of racism. Well, black people are cursed because that's why they have the curse of Ham. That's why we can enslave them and do this and do that. And that's what they were using as well as on the native people. Because remember, we're all Israelites. Native people, Taino people, we're all Israelites. We're all the original people. Aztecs, all of us. Mayans, Indian people, all of us. We're the original people on this planet. Dravidians, Ardavasi people, that's what they used to enslave us. Even when they went into Hindu land in India, this is the same curse of Ham that they used to curse us and to enslave us and create the caste system. Be careful what you play with. Because remember, Christianity, unfortunately, is a principality that's getting a lot of karma and judgment right now. If you want to involve yourself in Christianity, study the Gnostic unction. Other than that, you're playing with witchcraft and patriarchy. That's why they took the mother and all the feminine energy out of Christianity. But the funny thing is, they bastardized it from Zephora and Moses. Zephora was a Sibyl. She was a black prophetess. She was a psychic. And that's why when I first started this channel, what was the first thing that we went into, guys? We went into the Sibyls, the prophetesses of ancient Egypt and ancient Europe and Africa and things like that. They were spread all across, not just in Africa. King Solomon learned from Astarte and Asherah. Moses' wife was Sephora. That's how he was getting all those prophecies. Remember, because they said that Moses was the third person to get the prophecy of the Torah. He got that from fucking Sephora. Literally from fucking Sephora, for his wife. Because she's the one that wiped him down with the telepathic powers from getting into that pussy. Yeah, that's why they had to put all of us in harems and enslave all of the Sibyls and the prophetesses and do sex magic and shit like that on this. Because they know that black box, that's the real black box that they're talking about. Not the one that's in Mecca. The real black box is the pussy. There you go. And you clearly see the difference here. He was a European male, supposedly. No, he was dark. He was black too. But, they always depict him as A, B, C, and D. It was Sephora that was giving him those powers. And that's what we talked about that. They would come, different emperors and shit like that, they would come to the priestesses and say, hey, can you give us the keys to the streets and what's going to happen? And before they will start prophetizing, they had an agreement. They're like, okay, if we give you these prophetesses and we give you the keys to the streets, then you got to protect us from A, B, C, and D. And they're like, all right, okay. That's why when Constantine took power, he killed all of them. He's like, nah, you can't have any of these spiritual powers. We need to have it, because Constantine was a sociopath and a narcissist, and they participated in phallic worship. They all used to have sex with each other, all these men. That's what the fuck they were doing. And that's why their empires continue to fall every single generation. That's why Rome fell. That's one of the reasons Egypt fell, because they were playing with the sex and they were playing with the priestesses as well too, and playing games with the priestesses. And they instituted patriarchy. That a man should rule the gifts of a woman. Are you crazy? That's why shit is blowing up. And that's why they created secret societies. That's why. So they can share the feminine knowledge and wisdom amongst each other. Rosicrucian, Knights Templar, Freemasons, that's what they're doing in the back. They're sharing high knowledge from the priestesses. That's why a lot of you divine feminines are getting attacked and shit like that now, because you have this energy. You have that knowledge in your DNA. You have it in your DNA. You guys see how they try to kill me. You guys see how they try to do it to other people too. You guys see what they did to Mana, Adelita Bond, because we have it in our blood. The knowledge and the wisdom is there. That's why they practice sex magic on us, or energy harvesting and shit like that. That's why these karmics do that, because they're cursed. They're cursed and they're blocked from spiritual gifts. Their ancestors got banished back in pyramid days for grave robbing, for stealing information, knowledge, and wisdom. So they got banished from spiritual gifts and shit like that. That's why they have to steal them. That's why they have to plagiarize. They may sound intuitive and smart, but when it comes to getting deeper keys to the streets, they have no access. Now, before I move forward on this, you guys, I put some chapters of that book in the book club as well. I can't put all of that, because it's copywritten, and also too, I have to respect the author in it, because that's such high knowledge. Go buy the book yourself and go read it, and it'll give you a whole bunch of information on the way that they used to deal with us. Think about this. We were the top of the top. We were at the top. Feminines, all that stuff. How did it turn it into us being the most subjugated? Turning into Sartiji Bartman, having our bodies exploited and shit like that. It was patriarchy. Because they know that's why they keep Black women, our bodies all over the TV and shit like that. That's why they keep us subjugated. That's why they keep us in project housing and not being able to move up and wanting us to bleach our skin and do all this crazy ass stuff because they want us to give up our gift. They don't want us to remember who we are. Because if we were to all to wake up, Black women, indigenous women, Druidic women, ancient Celtic women, all that stuff, if we were to wake up and we'll blow this shit apart, period. Period. That's why they want you giving your energy away to man. That's why I told you guys with this twin flame stuff, it's not about you being in union with your masculine. It's about you being in union within. Then you finding that male counterpart outside of yourself that's going to be on the journey with you, period. That's why a lot of you guys have gone through all kinds of chaos with these masculine and shit like that. They're being used by the masculine principality to break your gifts down, to steal that energy, those jewels from your DNA. Be careful. Now, let's go to the last clown, Savitri Devi. She was the one that really helped to push forward anti-Blackness, anti-darkness, and the caste system in India. She's a European woman. She's a chemist as well. She was also part of the Third Reich. Mein Führer. She was in love with Hitler. And this lady went to India, married a Brahmin, and started creating all kinds of spiritual confusion, bringing in this information of the four group races. Look at this. Defiance. Look at her with her arm up, saluting the Third Reich. This is what she wanted to create. She was the one that was giving them the keys to the streets with all that chemistry and knowledge and information with the chemicals that they were using to gas people and cause problems and poison people's food, which is the same shit that Planned Parenthood is doing today with those RX-40 pills, those abortion pills, and the same thing that Monsanto was doing. They evolved from one company to another. They just changed the name from Bayer to this to that. She's a chemist. She has a PhD in chemistry. She was teaching them that shit. Yes. Yes. She learned from Madame Blavatsky as well, took that information, knowledge, and wisdom and bastardized it in India, causing all kinds of genocides and shit like that. Caste system. That's why the Dravidian people, the Ardavasi people, the Ardavasi and Dravidian people who are the darkest, they're at the bottom of the caste system. That's how they turned the caste system from being arranged based off of it was not even like who's the lowest and who's the highest. It wasn't. It was just arranged based off of your profession. You're a farmer, you're a teacher, you're a spiritualist, you're a Brahmin. Okay, they flipped it to your race, your color. The higher your skin color it was to white, blonde hair and blue eyes, the higher you were to God. That's why you go back in India today, most of the people who are in poverty are the what? The Ardavasi and Dravidian people, the dark people. That's why Andre 3000 said, across all cultures, dark people suffer the most. Why? Not because you're cursed from some curse of fucking Ham. You're cursed from the curse of fucking stupid ass people going into different parts of the world, taking spiritual knowledge and bastardizing it. That's what it is. We're dealing with the curse of stupidity. Savitri Devi. She was one of the other ones too that started that bullshit out in India. Go look these people up. And it was a mistranslation of knowledge. Rudolf Steiner talks about this. This is why certain spiritual knowledge should not be given to people. This is why another reason, guys, I stopped sharing certain knowledge on my channel, because you see what these karmics go and do. They want to be in competition. They try to bastardize it and they start sharing shit and creating fucking confusion. They don't know what the fuck they are talking about. Be careful. In order for you to create a whole picture, you need to study different type of lineages, different type of frameworks and practices. You guys see me here, I'm a Kemetan, yes, but at the same exact time, the Hindu pantheon fucks with me the long way because my nakshatra is Hasta, so I'm a master of astrology. Those of you guys who really understand Hinduism is how to access outer planets, how to move from one galaxy to a next through the mind. That's what they're fucking talking about as well. But you have to go, it walks you through how to let go of ego, how to do rituals to support the soul and the spirit. That's what they're talking about. That's why they have Krishna as the blue black man. How did he turn into being light blue? But Kali Ma is still dark though. How did these people turn from being blue black to green and light blue and shit like that? It's racism. Just the same way that they went into all the different temples in ancient Egypt and bleached them and washed them down to make it seem like these people were not Africans or things like that. Pay attention, guys. There's a big ass game that's being reaped here to purport this bullshit about these root races and this madness and this racial inferiority that they're trying to purport. That's why I gave you guys Dr. Francis. She talks all about this in her book, The ISIS Papers. So this concludes my lecture for today. I hope you guys enjoy this. It's a lot of information. You can start here and keep going. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to post that article in my Patreon, and so you guys can go ahead and read that and get some keys to the streets. I took a class on race. I took a class on religion as well as abnormal psychology at the same exact time. I wrote a paper on Helena Blavatsky and Hitler and their relationship, and how a lot of that information, a lot of that knowledge and wisdom that she was going into different parts of Persia and the world she had no business going into was given to Hitler to create the Holocaust. And it's the same shit today. That's why I be telling people that you be careful. Now the new thing is the starseed fuckery. These people talk about, I'm a Syrian, I'm from this. A lot of y'all are not from no fucking Syrian. Your ancestors were slave owners and slave masters. Go clean that shit up before you start playing with the starseed. It's another distraction, another trick from people doing their work. Oh, you're too focused on the 3D. That's an outdated timeline. No, it's not, because it's a timeline that is still playing. People are still being enslaved. Their gifts are still being harvested. That's why they're doing it through the music these days. The energy harvesting and the confusion and degradation of the melanin with these rappers, or a rapper. W-R-A-P-P-E-R, wrap your third eye closed. Pay attention. What is this on my, there we go. All right, you guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm gonna be putting more occult lectures. I think I'm just gonna start, every month we'll do a really powerful occult lecture, but I'm gonna put on my Patreon, because I honestly, you guys, like, it's like the knowledge that I have to share, I've been holding back. I really have. I've been holding back because of the drama that they create, but we're gonna keep on going. All right, you guys, I'm sending you so much love. Have a good day.